gate was supposed to save us. We thought we escaped the killers. We're one of who escaped with us. And now, there's no future left.
We fell through time to ancient ground, where giants walked where streets don't sound. The sky is red, the leaves turn black, and something's always watching back. Claws and teeth, the jaws of scale, but something called to run our trail. A mask of a breath, no words, no cry, just chasing, walking, and you die. Primal. No God, no rules, just cast the dirt. The jungle breaks and makes it hurt. No scream can reach the stars we knew. He's behind you now and coming through. Primal. Steel in silence, liquid rush. Primal. He's not alive, but he still hunts. The wrecks can roar, the raptors scream, but Jason tears through every dream. He doesn't run, he doesn't bleed. You hear the crunch, you watch him feed. Behind in trees and caves at night, but still he walks, no need for sight. He waits while thunder splits the sky and strikes when stars are blinking dry.
He doesn't belong in this time, but this time belongs to him now. Not even the dinosaurs challenge him, because even they know what death is.
Eyes stare in ancient ray. He doesn't stop, he doesn't change. Lost behind, mask ahead, between the beast and him. You're dead, a scream is lost in jungle cries. A friend impaled before your eyes. A BF Rex flees in the dark. Jason stayed to leave his mark. Primal. The blood drips on a cretaceous stone. Primal. The past is screaming, but you're alone. A monster from the age of men. Now stuck in peace through time again. Primal. There's no escape, just pain and lace. Now cut the past into your face. He followed us through fire and time. He doesn't stop, he never speaks, but he always finds you.
Primal, a Friday the 13th story by me, Joshua LaRue. Chapter 10, Endangered Species. The study inside the bird's nest buzzed with low conversation and the faint hum of solar-powered systems. Raised 50 feet above a wide sunlit clearing, the elevated hideaway, built by Edwin Prism long before any of them arrived, stood tall on its cylindrical spine like a lone tower from some lost civilization, almost invisible to the naked eye. It should have felt like sanctuary, but deep down no one inside felt completely safe. They had only been inside for about 15 minutes, but the time had been used well. Everyone made more formal introductions, and hands were shook. Edwin reported some bad news. The explosion had not only destroyed a section of the electric fence, it had also destroyed its power supply. The bird's nest no longer had a perimeter protection. They could only depend on its camouflage now. There was an urgency, but at the same time the group was thankful for a respite in all the madness. They took advantage of the opportunity to breathe again, even if it was only a temporary break in the chaos. Otis's first question was if Chad, Branson, or Edwin had seen the other two, Kelly and Trevor. Branson filled them in on the tragic fates that had befallen the young couple. Otis had shaken his head. Such a loss, so young, he thought. Otis and Nate then both insisted to know what happened with their fellow soldier Bethany. Branson told them the entire story. Edwin backed him up. Otis didn't trust Edwin, but he knew deep down Branson was telling the truth.
I can't believe I didn't see it, that I didn't even suspect,
Otis had begun. Yeah, me either. When and if we get back, Otis, you and I are going to need to talk about your employment going forward. I hired you to protect me, not to train my assassin, Edwin had interrupted. He looked far too comfortable, sitting in a comfy leather office chair, leaned back with his feet up on a small desk.
No need for a chat about my job, Prism. Consider this my notice. I'm done working in the company of blood and greed,
Otis snapped back. Consider this my notice too, Nate had added. It seemed things were about to get heated. A picture of anger showed on Edwin's face, but in an instant it was washed away by a very fake smile. I will try to find a way to move on, but I accept your resignations. He clapped his hands together. Now, with that nasty business out of the way, this is the time for a game plan. Everything else can wait. Let's get cleaned up, eat, and talk. We may have a way home, the trillionaire finished. Before getting down to brass tacks, the next 10 minutes were spent changing. Everyone took to the bathroom and kitchen sink to wash up the best they could. Edwin had opened a long-forgotten storage bin and passed around a stack of clean Prism Tech t-shirts, each one black with Prism Tech printed in bold gold and silver lettering across the chest. There were no extra pants. He apologized with a shrug. Only one full change of clothes, which he'd already claimed to replace the campy Camp Crystal Lake 1957 counselor shirt and khaki shorts he'd arrived in. He now wore snug skinny jeans and a fresh Prism Tech tee, looking a lot like a hipster. His fresh shirt was custom made for him. It had his name and title on the front, and the Prism Tech logo and slogan on the back. The back of the shirt read, Prism Tech, Innovation Never Dies. Branson, Chad, Otis, and Nate had swapped their bloodied and torn tops for the clean shirts. Otis and Nate, still dressed in their matching camo pants and boots, both put their jackets back on. Nate had to retrieve his from Toy. They had taken off of her to check her for injuries while carrying her in. He told Sonia he would give it back to Toy in a jiffy if she wanted it when she woke up. LaToya had still been unconscious when they first reached the top of the bird's nest. Her small body slumped in Sonia's arms, head limp, clothes torn and singed and filthy from the explosion. Sonia had carried her straight to the study's corner couch, grabbed a bottle of water and a washcloth, and gently cleaned her face, dabbing at her cheeks and forehead. It was only when she pressed the coal cloth to the girl's brow and whispered her name that LaToya stirred. Her eyelids fluttered. Her lashes were clumped with dirt, and one with dried blood from a small cut above her eye. Then she opened her eyes slowly, blinking into focus, locking eyes with Sonia. A soft, tiny smile formed. "I'm hungry," she said. That was all. No tears, no screaming, just a quiet, matter-of-fact declaration of need. After everything, the horror at the showroom, the chase through the jungle, the T-Rexes, Jason Voorhees, the monstrous dinosaurs fighting around her, and Francis trying to offer her up to a killer. That was what she said when she woke. "I'm hungry." Sonia smiled, pride swelling in her chest. The poor girl surely had some form of trauma, but there was fight in her, real fight. The kind of fight that came from someplace deeper than fear. A kind of defiant spirit that refused to let darkness win. "Welcome back, LaToya," Sonia had whispered. The girl gave her a crooked grin and replied, "I told you, it's Toy!" She giggled faintly, and Sonia laughed through the burn in her eyes. There hadn't been a shirt in a child's size, so Sonia had done what she could for little LaToya. She'd picked out the smallest of the adult Prism Tech tees and tied the bottom edge up at the side in a neat knot so it wouldn't hang down to her knees. The oversized black shirt practically swallowed her, but she didn't complain. Sonia had to settle for a slightly large shirt as well. She was enjoying the comfort. Once Toy was awake and fed, she tore through half a bag of cookies, a sealed pouch of chips, and a PB&J sandwich like she hadn't eaten in weeks. Chad, seated nearby and nearly hollowed by stress, did the same. The two of them crunching and munching like kids sneaking snacks at a slumber party. They both had lost their parents in the last 24 hours, yet they knew there was no time for grief. Not yet. It was a small moment of normalcy, and everyone in the room slightly cherished it. Sonia had prepared a sandwich for everyone, slicing the vacuum-sealed loaf and spreading the peanut butter and jelly like it was a sacred ritual. They all accepted one. No one refused. With everyone fed, changed, and seated, the room had quieted again. Otis stood up, water bottle in hand, and exhaled slowly. "All right, folks, it's time for a serious talk." That was Sonia's cue. She rose, brushing a crumb off Toy's shirt, knot, and gently said, "Come on, sweet girl, let's get those cuts cleaned up proper." Toy nodded and followed her down the short hall to the washroom. The door clicked closed behind them. The men gathered in the study, Otis standing in the middle of the room, Branson leaning against the rounded wall, Nate sitting in a lone chair, and Chad sitting by the doorway on the floor. They were still alive, but the world outside hadn't forgotten them. They hadn't forgotten it. It was time for an exit plan. Otis stood near the window, arms folded across his chest, and began with what his group had endured since arriving in the past. The crash landing, the dinosaur encounters, the near misses with Jason Voorhees, the whole grueling night and morning. Chad followed. His voice cracked slightly, but he powered through as he told the story of the cave, the titanic predator they'd encountered, the BF Rex, and how his mother was torn apart before his eyes. He spoke of Francis, too, with growing venom in his tone. How the man had panicked. How he'd offered Jeffrey Whitman up as bait to Jason Voorhees to save himself. When Chad finally finished, Edwin leaned back in his chair and let out a low whistle. "I am sorry you had the shit luck of getting stranded with that weasel," Edwin said. "He actually used to be valuable to me, but over time, greedy, bitter, expected gold stars and standing ovations for doing his damn job. At least you got to give him an extra asshole on his way out." Chad didn't smile. He stood abruptly and turned for the door. "I'm going to the balcony. I'll keep an eye on things. Jason could be coming back, and that thing from last night might be out there." "Good thinking, kid," Edwin called after him. "There's a pair of binoculars hanging out there." Chad flinched slightly at the word kid. It was what Francis had called him. Hearing it now in Edwin's voice made his skin crawl the same way. Once the door closed behind Chad, Otis turned back to the others. He relayed what he had heard through his earpiece minutes before. How Francis had pleaded for his life with Jason. How he'd confessed to tampering with the security in Jason's cell. How he heard the coward take his last breath. He had already pulled Chad aside while eating their sandwiches and let him know of Francis's fate. The boy seemed to shed invisible weight from his shoulders at the news. Edwin didn't look shocked. "You sure know how to pick them," Branson blurted. Edwin ignored his insult. "So that little asshole set this all into motion, huh?" he said casually. Otis turned to face him, his expression unreadable. "I guess you could look at it that way, Prism. Or you could say you pushed the man into doing what he did." Edwin scoffed. "Here we go. You literally heard him admit to turning down the energy pulse in Jason's cell, and you're the one who built that cell. You're the one who brought those murderers, those monsters to the showroom," Otis snapped. "Yes, but you, Otis, were paid handsomely for your part in delivering them," Edwin retorted, finger raised like a teacher scoring a point. "You're right, Prism. I am partially to blame. God help me. But I'm going to make things right, somehow," Otis replied, voice low and full of regret. "This isn't your show anymore, Edwin. I'm not your puppet. Whatever happens next, we do it my way." "This is pointless," Branson interjected, cutting through the tension like a blade. "It doesn't matter who caused it. It doesn't matter who was in charge. Just tell them about the backpack already." "What backpack?" Nate asked, his eyes narrowing. Otis and Nate turned to Edwin. He sighed theatrically, then leaned forward in his chair. "Well, Otis, speaking of blame, if it hadn't been for the distinguished Mr. Branson McAllister, we would already be out of here by now." Otis glanced in Branson's direction. The older black man was staring a hole through Edwin Prism. "What do you mean by that, Edwin? No riddles. Spit it out," Otis commanded, not playing around. Edwin could tell it was best to just answer his question. He shot a quick wink to Branson, who fumed at the gesture. "It was 2 days ago. A young man, Henry, real name Joshua, was working for Branson. Branson set up a fake identity for the guy and paid a hefty fee so his mole could take a trip to the Cretaceous with me. By the way, Branson, thank you for that 450 mil. I'll make sure to really enjoy spending it," Edwin said. Branson was about to speak, but Otis cut him off. "I said no more bullshit, Prism. Get to the point, or I'll get it out of you in other ways." Edwin put up his arms in mock defeat. "Fine. You're no fun. Where was I? Oh, yes, corporate espionage," Edwin said with a sarcastic smirk towards Branson. His guy came in and pretended to be a spoiled rich kid who wanted to go on a Cretaceous safari to see some Rexes up close. I knew his identity was fake, but I didn't know who he worked for yet, so I had to let things play out. I had a plan to get the information I needed. Letting things play out included having to act like I didn't know he jacked every bit of tech I had on hand. Anyways, that tech included a return cube and the power cells needed to activate it. He put them in a fancy little leather backpack he brought with him. Then when we were out on our little safari, some things went sideways, and we ended up ambushed by a dinosaur. He dropped the backpack to lighten his load as we ran. We used a return cube that I had on me. I always kept more than one here. And we got back home. He lied smoothly, like he'd said it 100 times already. So he says, Branson muttered under his breath. Okay, so where is the backpack now? Otis asked. Not far, Edwin said with a shrug. Up the game trail you folks came from. In fact, from your retelling of last night and this morning's events, you were probably within half a mile of it before you came here. Up the game trail. I would say we could just go snag it now, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But, Nate prompted. Edwin gave a half smile. He saw Otis knew the answer somehow. The Rex nest? Otis asked. Bingo! Get this boy a lollipop, Edwin said. The tech in the bag could withstand a fall, heavy rain, and it can even handle extreme weight strain. However, that doesn't matter if you run into those Rexes. How did you know about them anyways? Shit, Otis muttered. Francis mentioned the Rex nest being in that direction earlier. Then another discouraging thought struck Otis. Balls! It's a dangerous gamble to take. Our sidearms and what we got left in our AKs after taking out those flying bastards won't stop something that big. It would probably just piss it off. It's why we didn't chance taking them out last night, and we had full clips then. Well, the thing is, Edwin continued, tone suddenly serious, I don't even know if the Rexes will still be there. That monster Chad spoke of, what I call the BF Rex, the big fucking Rex, patent pending, well, he ran them off. I'm more afraid that it's his territory now, and trust me, even if you had a crate full of AKs and handguns and infinite ammo, it wouldn't stop him. That thing isn't natural. Otis rubbed a hand down his face. Furthermore, gentlemen, even if you get the cube, Edwin added, I'm not entirely sure where it leads. The gateway was severely damaged last night. Well, at the gallery in the future, but last night. Time runs concurrently on these trips. Oh, hell, you know what I mean. My techs theorized that if someone used a return cube while the gateway was offline, they could risk just getting spat out somewhere in time. Or maybe it would just send them back to the time they came from. Or they'd be trapped in flux for eternity. Who knows? You mean to tell me you never tested that scenario? Branson asked. Edwin gave a crooked smile. It was on the agenda, the Prism Tech to-do list, as it were. Not a lot of people volunteering for the who knows where you'll end up trials. Well, regardless, the one thing that's for sure is we can't survive here, not for long. This isn't a theme park or a zoo. We're in their world, Branson said as he pointed to the curved window behind Edwin's desk. And that's not even counting the killing machine Jason Voorhees. I'll be damned, Edwin muttered. I actually agree with McAllister. Jason will find a way to get up here. He's not human. We aren't safe even 50 feet off the ground. That freak will find a way to snuff us all out. I did my homework on all the killers I collected. But like I said, boys, there's a way out of here. The problem is, how do we get to it? Otis turned to Nate, an unspoken question in his eyes, a request. Nate nodded. We'll go get the pack, Otis said sharply. My heroes, Edwin grinned, slapping his desk as he sat up. God damn it, Otis, if you aren't a real-life G.I. Joe, you are a real stand-up guy, you know that? Care to join us, Prism? Nate asked flatly. his expression unimpressed. "Nah, I think I'll stay up here and hope for the best," Edwin said, still grinning. "But hey, tell you what, I'll pray for you guys." "I want to go," Branson said, louder than he meant to. Otis blinked. "Maybe you should stay here. Keep an eye on things while we're gone. Look after Sonya, Toy, and Chad. Not sure they should be staying with you-know-who." "Geez, I'm right here, guys. I can look after the young'uns," Edwin said, raising both hands. "Y'all have trust issues, seriously." Branson glanced at Edwin, then turned back to Otis. "Don't leave me here with him. I've been patient, but I'm close to my breaking point, and if I reach it, I break him. Besides, you might need backup out there if things go sideways. I can hold my own, I promise. I want to help. We have to get those kids home. They've lost so much. Let's make sure they don't lose any more. There's a better chance of one of three making it out of trouble than there is one of two." Chad re-entered just in time to hear the tail end of the plea. "I'm cool with it," he said. "I'll help keep an eye on things." "Hey, see? Chad's cool with it," Edwin said, flashing his biggest grin yet. Otis sighed. "Fine." He pulled his side arm free and presented it butt first to Branson. "Do you know how to shoot a gun?" "Yes, I do," Branson said firmly. He took the gun. "This is going to sting a little, okay?" Sonya said soothingly, holding a small alcohol pad from the first aid kit. "Okay, I won't cry," Toy replied. Sonya dabbed the small cut above the little girl's eyes. Toy squinted and bit her lip but didn't make a noise. Sonya then blew on it gently and placed a small band-aid over the cut. "See? All better," Sonya said. "Yeah, it didn't hurt at all," Toy began. "Sonya, can I ask you something?" "Of course, ask away," Sonya responded. "Can dinosaurs or the man in the mask get up here?" "No, not at all. We are completely safe, I promise," Sonya assured her. "I saw the scary man in the woods. He looked at me, but he left. I thought he was going to kill me like the other man in the mask killed my parents," Toy said solemnly. "Well, he saw how tough you are, and it scared him away. And it was storming. That thunder probably scared him too, huh?" Sonya said, trying to make the girl smile again. Sonya was angry. Angry at the bastard who had killed this girl's parents, killed her innocence. Angry at the dinosaurs for terrifying her. Angry at Prism for bringing all those monsters there in the first place. Angry at Jason. She was angry at them all and at herself for not knowing how to fix what was now broken in LaToya. LaToya didn't respond. She didn't smile, yet. Instead, she looked up at Sonya with a grown-up look in her young eyes. "Can you take care of me, now that Mommy and Daddy are gone? Can you take care of me like them?" Toy asked, a small tear welling in her eye. Sonya's heart dropped. She held back her own tear. "I promise I will always look out for you, Toy. I won't let anything happen to you." "Hey, did you know I used to have a little sister a lot like you?" Sonya said. "You have a little sister? What's her name?" Toy asked. "Her name was Alicia," Sonya answered, no longer able to hold back the tears now streaming down her cheek. She used the back of her hand to wipe them away. "She died when we were kids." Toy looked crushed. "Did someone kill her like my mom and dad?" "No, it was an accident." "A car," Sonya began. "But you remind me so much of her." "You are one cool kid, LaToya." "It's Toy," the young girl said with a giggle. "You're right. Well, you are one cool kid, Toy." "I can be your sister if you want me to," Toy said, reaching up and wiping a stray tear from Sonya's cheek. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Sonya's waist. "I'd like that very much," Sonya answered. Toy thought deep for a moment and spoke again. "You know how we came here in a time machine?" "Yeah, a time gateway," Sonya responded. "Could we use it to save my mommy and daddy and save your sister?" Toy asked, showing wisdom beyond her years. Sonya was taken aback with the young girl's question. She thought for a moment and replied, "I've thought about the same thing, honey, and yes, I would give anything to spend another day with Alicia. The thing is, Toy, we aren't supposed to be able to change things. Yes, it's sad and it hurts, but time isn't supposed to be changed. All the people who've been hurt at that gallery, your parents, Chad's parents, Trevor and Kelly, all of them are gone because Edwin decided to change time. He did it for his own selfish reasons and people got hurt. If we changed things, we'd be doing it for our own selfish reasons, no matter how much we miss them. Do you understand, Toy?" Toy looked down at the floor, and after a moment she lifted her head and looked at Sonya. "I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just miss my mom and dad." "I know you do, but you need to know something. They're proud of you," Sonya said. "How do you know?" "Because I'm proud of you," Sonya answered. Their moment was interrupted by a knock on the small bathroom door. "Hey, Sonya, can we talk?" Nate's voice called from the other side of the door. "Yeah, 1 second," Sonya said. She hugged Toy back and gave her a kiss on the cheek. "Let's go talk to Nate." "Okay," the girl replied. Sonya straightened up, took Toy's hand and opened the door and stepped into the small sleeping quarters beyond. Nate quietly filled her in on everything that had been discussed in the study. Toy had went and sat on a small couch out of hearing range, eating another small bag of chips. "I understand," Sonya said. "I wish you didn't have to go out there, but I understand." "Listen," Nate began. "If we can really get back home, if this works, then maybe we can do something normal. You know, like see a movie, have dinner. I know it's not as exciting as hiding from T-Rexes or running from legendary killers, but..." Sonya cut him off. "Yes, I'd love to. Think we could bring along a third?" she asked, glancing over at the small couch where a Toy sat, munching chips with quiet contentment. She knew that once they got home, she'd help Toy find her closest living relatives, but no matter what, Sonya intended to remain in her life. The little girl had lost everything, and Sonya wasn't going to be just another person who disappeared. Nate looked at Toy munching on chips and smiled. He turned back to Sonya. "Of course, wouldn't have it any other way. Listen, they're waiting for us at the controls. Here." Edwin had another set of radio headsets. Nate took Sonya's hand and placed a small earpiece in her palm. "Put it in your ear. You tap it to speak, tap again to listen. Got it?" "Yeah, sure, no problem," she replied. The three left the small room and walked up to the balcony, then to the controls by the exit door. Chad was at the balcony scanning the area as far as he could see. "Looks clear right now, Mr. Otis," Chad called. "Thanks, Chad. Keep an eye out while we're gone. Don't lower the bird's nest until we contact Sonya and give the all clear. Got it?" Otis called back. "Yes, sir," the teen responded. Otis turned the controls and the bird's nest began to slowly spin down to ground level. Nate turned to Sonya and, with his heart fluttering, put an arm around her back, pulled her close, and kissed her. Sonya wrapped her arms around him and kissed him back. "Ew," Toy said. Sonya and Nate broke their kiss and in unison looked to the small girl and stuck their tongues out at her. She returned the gesture. Sonya and Nate broke their embrace as the bird's nest reached the ground. "Best of luck," came Edwin's voice from somewhere in the study. "Just wanted you to know. Good luck. We are all counting on you." He said it with gusto, but if he expected anyone to get his 65-year-old movie reference, he failed miserably. No one responded. Otis put his earpiece in. Sonya did as well. "I will call you when we are close. Do not lower the structure until I say so. This is important. Don't lower it for anything," Otis stressed. "I promise I won't," Sonya responded. "Keep your eyes on Prism. He may seem like a laid-back goof, but he is not what he appears to be," Branson warned. "You can't trust him. Be safe. Call Otis if there are any problems." "I will, Mr. McAllister, thank you," she replied. "Seriously, be careful, Nate," she added, giving the young soldier another tight hug and a small kiss. As they embraced, Nate whispered in her ear, "You still have the gun?" "Yes," she whispered back. "Good," Nate said as he let go of Sonya. Otis, Nate, and Branson stepped out of the bird's nest and walked toward the Jeep. The fog had burned away, and it was a bright, sunny day. Sonya and Toy waved goodbye, and Sonya turned to the controls. The bird's nest began to spin and rise back up to 50 feet. Sonya watched through the small window on the exit door, each time the structure spun around, catching a glimpse of the Jeep driving away, getting further and further out of sight. Jason Voorhees had been following the sharp, guttural barking cries of the raptors for nearly 30 minutes. He had moved silently through the misty clearing as the morning fog began to burn away in the rising sun. Then, without hesitation or thought, he turned and followed the noise into the jungle again, drawn forward by the hunt. Branches snapped underfoot, the wet leaves brushing his legs as he pressed deeper into the dense foliage. The sounds grew louder, closer, and somehow more deliberate. And then he stopped. He sensed them. They were around him. All around him. In the shadows, crouched in the tangled brush and between moss-covered trunks, 7 raptors encircled him. Their sickle claws tapped softly against the ground, their slit eyes glowing like embers from the undergrowth. Snarls rose in their throats. And standing ahead of him, just beyond the tree line unmoving, was the dead-eyed king. The 7-foot alpha, its dark yellow scales scarred, stood perfectly still. One of its eyes was a pale, lifeless, milky orb. That dead eye stared directly into the eye holes of Jason's mask. Again it had come. Again it taunted him. And then the jungle erupted. 2 raptors lunged from the sides, fast, precise, jaws wide, with jagged teeth aimed for his throat and side. Jason moved like a ghost, his machete sang through the air, slicing clean through the throat of the one on his right. The second clamped onto his left shoulder, driving claws into his arm as it tried to drag him down. Jason slammed its body against a tree again and again until ribs shattered with wet crunches. He grunted and tossed the twitching corpse into the brush. Another sprang from behind, landing on his back. He staggered forward, its claws digging into his spine, but he reached over his shoulder and yanked it off by the neck, slamming it face first into the dirt. His boot came down on its head with a dull crack. A fourth came from the trees above, leaping from a low-hanging branch. Its jaws clamped onto his forearm mid-swing, teeth piercing deep, blood spilled, Jason's blood. But he didn't slow. He drove the machete upward into the raptor's belly, lifting it off the ground before hurling it back into the trees with a roar. The 5th and 6th came together, trying to flank him. One slashed across his chest, slicing through the jacket and undershirt, leaving long, bleeding gashes across his torso. The other snapped at his legs, knocking him briefly to a knee. Jason rose with fury. He grabbed the leg of the one snapping at him, swinging it like a blunt weapon into its packmate. Bones shattered in both. He pinned one beneath his knee, driving the machete down repeatedly until the soil ran black. The 7th raptor circled, cautious, smart. It hissed and chirped, testing him, looking for an opening. Jason stood waiting. Then it struck. It bolted in fast, but Jason was faster. He ducked low, pivoted, and drove the machete upward under its jaw, the blade piercing through the top of its skull and out the other side. He yanked it free, letting the body drop. Silence returned. The jungle buzzed with insects. Jason stood amid the carnage, bleeding but unbroken. His jacket was torn, scratches and punctures oozed down his chest and arms, but his breathing was steady. He looked back to where the dead-eyed king had stood. Gone. He took a step forward. A bone-chilling shriek split the air, a raw, guttural war cry that echoed through the steaming jungle like a siren of death. Jason's head snapped toward the sound just as the foliage ahead burst open in a violent blur of yellow scales and green stripes. The dead-eyed king was charging. 7 feet of honest killing instinct, all muscle and fury. His yellow hide shimmered in the hazy beams of sunlight that pierced the thinning canopy. Jagged scars crisscrossed his scaled body like a warrior's tapestry, a lifetime of survival engraved in flesh. Black quills trembled along his skull, flaring like blades as he howled again. Dark feathering rippled across his forearms, giving him a primal, almost ceremonial appearance, like some ancient warlord from a time long buried. Jason met the charge head on. The raptor launched first, leaping with sickle claws aimed directly for Jason's chest. The machete flashed up, catching one claw midair and deflecting it with a screech of scale on steel, but the impact knocked Jason back a step. The dead-eyed king landed in a crouch, snarling, then lunged again. This time, Jason pivoted and slammed the flat of the blade into the side of the raptor's skull, cracking one of the black quills clean off. But the beast didn't even flinch. Talons raked across Jason's chest, shredding his torn overshirt and scoring his skin beneath. Black ooze leaked from the gashes, hissing as it hit the dirt. Jason grunted, stumbled, but did not fall. The king circled, tail lashing, his single good eye locked on Jason. The blind eye, milky and scarred, seemed to burn with rage of its own. He darted in again, faster this time. Jason swung the machete upward in a brutal arc, catching the creature under the jaw. A spray of dark blood flew from its mouth, and it reeled back, but only for a second. The beast twisted and kicked out with both legs, launching Jason through a sapling, shattering it like glass. Jason crashed to the jungle floor. His hand twitched. His fingers closed around a rock, not the machete. As the dead-eyed king pounced, Jason hurled the stone into its snout. It wasn't enough to stop it, but enough to throw off its aim. The raptor's claws grazed Jason's shoulder as he rolled to the side. He surged up, grabbing the machete just as the raptor swung around again. They met in a chaotic blur, talons slashing, blade carving, both warriors roaring in their own voiceless way. The king's quilled head snapped forward, grabbing Jason's left wrist in its jaws. Crack! Jason's arm dropped for a moment. The machete clanged to the earth. Blood and ooze hissed from the bite as Jason stumbled, but then his free hand came up, clutching a jagged branch. He rammed it upward into the dead-eyed king's ribs. The raptor shrieked in agony. It reared back, impaled, bleeding, but still far from beaten. It spat out Jason's arm and staggered, panting, tail lashing violently. Jason retrieved the machete with a slow, deliberate motion. The two titans circled again. Then the king leapt, this time catching Jason by surprise. Its talons wrapped around his torso, lifting him off the ground and slamming him into a tree trunk so hard the bark exploded outward. As they grappled, jaws snapped and arms swung wildly. The raptor lunged forward and sank its teeth into Jason's mask. There was a screeching sound like nails on a chalkboard, then a snap as the straps ripped free from Jason's misshapen head. Jason's mask went flying. It hit the jungle floor and rolled once before the dead-eyed king stepped forward, placing a clawed foot directly atop it. With slow, deliberate pressure, the raptor crushed it beneath its weight. The weathered hockey mask broke in half, then one half snapped into several pieces as the king shifted. Jason rose, now unmasked. His face was revealed in full horrific clarity. His swollen, disfigured head looked almost alien, the skull too large, misshapen. His skin had rotted to a charcoal gray, parts missing entirely, bone exposed across his left cheek and the rim of his eye socket. One eye drooped hideously, but both eyes burned with fury. His breathing was silent but thick with rage. The dead-eyed king froze. There was something primal in the monster's paws, an ancient recognition. Jason stepped forward, dragging the machete through the dirt behind him. The king screeched again and lunged, aiming to finish it. But Jason was ready now. He ducked under the slash, drove the blade upward into the raptor's shoulder. It howled. Talons lashed out and tore into Jason's side. They grappled, fell, rolled, locked in a vicious, intimate death spiral. Jason punched the raptor's snout again and again with his gnarled fists. The king's blood sprayed, and still it bit down, sinking its teeth into Jason's collarbone. Jason stabbed again, this time into the raptor's hip. The king staggered back, bleeding from over a dozen wounds, limping, now wheezing. Jason stood still, breathing through his exposed mouth and ravaged nostrils. His machete drooped in one hand, his ruined body steaming in the jungle heat. And then they stopped. For a long, still moment, neither moved. The dead-eyed king cocked his head, breathing ragged through his slit nostrils. He blinked once with his one good eye. Jason tilted his head in reply. No more blades, no more claws, no more teeth. Just understanding. Two monsters, two predators, warriors born of pain and forged in death. Jason had killed the king's mate, had wiped out most of his pack. The one-eyed king had destroyed Pamela's head, taken from Jason that which was most precious. Their battle had not been about survival, but domination. They had found equals in each other, and there was nothing left to prove. The king let out a low growl, more breath than sound. He stepped backward, still limping. He cocked his head once more, almost a nod, then turned and without another sound vanished into the dark, steaming jungle. Jason stood alone, black blood dripping down his ribs and arms. His face burned from open wounds. He walked to his broken mask and picked it up off the ground. Half the mask was in ruined pieces. The straps were ripped and shredded. He pulled the mask to his face and pressed it against his decayed skin. It sank in, suctioned to his rotted face, and it stuck. The left side of his face was exposed, the right covered in a jagged, broken, and blood-stained mask, a reminder of the battle with the one-eyed king. Then he heard it, the distant hum of an electric engine, tires rolling over dirt. Through the tree line ahead, a jeep passed by in the clearing. Jason could still hear his mother even now. She was still with him, head or no head. "They're here, Jason. No more distractions. No more waiting. Finish what you started, my special, special boy. It's time you make them pay. Kill them. Kill them all, Jason." Pamela's voice rang in her son's head. Jason turned toward the sound of the passing vehicle, and with half his face exposed, he began walking, silent, relentless. His mother's words echoed, and he would obey. No more distractions, no more waiting. He was going to finish what he started. Branson sat rigid in the passenger seat, his eyes scanning the dense Cretaceous jungle in the distance on both sides. Nate was in the back, muscles tense, and Otis gripped the wheel tightly as the jeep bumped and jolted over the uneven terrain, the ancient earth still raw beneath their tires. The air was thick with humidity and the distant calls of creatures long extinct, echoing in a way that was hauntingly beautiful and painfully alien all at once. A giant insect splatted across the windshield, turning into a yellowish jelly. Otis turned on the wipers and pressed a button for wiper fluid to spray against the glass. It took several swipes to finally remove enough gunk to see clearly again.
I cannot wait to get back to normal bugs. I never thought I'd miss tiny annoying mosquitoes so much, he thought to himself with a silent chuckle. Breaking the quiet, Branson's voice cut through the hum of the engine and the bird song from the treetops. Just so you know, I didn't send Joshua here to spy on Edwin and get his tech simply for personal gain. I had hoped to be able to reverse engineer the technology, to have the means to fix anything that bastard broke using time travel as a form of personal entertainment. I hope you can see that. For some reason, Branson wanted the approval and respect of this man. I do, but no one should have that technology. I see that now more than ever, Otis replied. As do I now, sir. As do I, Branson agreed. Also, I must admit, I have ulterior motives for coming with you. I couldn't say anything back at the bird's nest, but I have suspected Joshua Marcel, my employee we spoke of, was killed on his trip here with Edwin 2 days ago. I think Edwin may have killed him himself or set events into motion that took his life. I have caught Prism in multiple lies since we got here regarding that trip. Otis didn't respond immediately, but his knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. I wish you'd mentioned that sooner. Perhaps before we left Sonia, Toy, and Chad with the bastard? Branson's gaze hardened. Edwin's an opportunist, sure, but there's no point in hurting them. They'll be safe for now. There's no upside to him doing anything to them. You better be sure, man. If he hurts them, Nate began. He won't. There is no upside to do so. As I said, nothing that benefits him. He wants to go home, too. He may not want to face the consequences of his gallery, but he doesn't want to stay here, Branson cut in. What does coming with us have to do with your suspicions? Otis asked, intrigued. That backpack Joshua was carrying. It doesn't just have the items we need in it, you see. I outfitted Joshua with special glasses. They recorded everything from his trip with Edwin. There is a tablet sewn into that backpack where all the footage is stored. If we get our hands on that tablet, Branson said. Otis cut him off. Then you get to the truth, Otis said, finishing Branson's statement. Exactly, Branson said. He paused, voice lowering. If what I suspect is in those recordings, and if we can get back to 2045 with that proof, Edwin will have to pay for what he's done. Even if he tries to weasel out of all the mayhem and death from the gallery, we can at least bring him down for Joshua's death. At the very least, the world needs to see why Edwin Prism monopolizing time travel is a danger we can't ignore. Otis exhaled slowly, eyes still locked on the prehistoric path ahead. You're right. I regret ever taking a dime from him. I truly hope I live to right my wrongs. Edwin has that way with people. He is able to pull the wool over people's eyes, make them think they are doing the good work, helping save the world. And I don't know you well, but from what I've seen, you are one of the good ones, and you are already making it right, Branson said. From the back, Nate spoke quietly, but with weight. I never noticed it from afar, but now up close, there's something dark in Edwin's eyes. Every time I look at him, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, like he's hiding something worse than we can imagine. Otis looked to Nate through the rearview mirror. He knew exactly what he meant. Branson did as well. The jeep rattled onward, pushing deeper into the wild. They entered deeper into the broad game trail, where the dense trees gave way to sweeping vistas alive with ancient giants. Herds of titanosaurs lumbered gracefully across the clearing again, long, elegant necks stretching towards treetops. The ankylosaur and baryonyx battle from earlier that morning a distant memory. Nearby, armored triceratops moved in slow, steady groups, their powerful horns gleaming in the filtered sunlight. The dinosaurs grazed peacefully, the earth trembling softly beneath their massive feet. Branson's eyes softened as he watched the creatures move. It's breathtaking, he murmured almost to himself. I don't think I've ever seen anything more beautiful. But it's not meant for us to see, is it? This isn't our place, our time. It's theirs. Every second we're in this time, we're messing with something we barely understand. We're already damaging the fabric of time.
Otis nodded quietly, the corners of his mouth tight.
Yeah, and Edwin Prism is the one person whose whims could make or break all of existence. Terrifying. I hope we find that backpack, not just to get home, but to find your tablet. It has to end. He needs to be stopped. Here, take this,
Otis said, as he reached into the pocket of his pants and came out with a large pocket knife. He handed it to Branson.
When we get the bag, get your tablet. Let's nail this bastard.
Branson nodded, a look of appreciation and respect on his face. The herds began to thin as the trail narrowed, the trees drawing closer like silent watchers. Shadows grew longer, and the peaceful chorus of the jungle shifted into something more ominous. Distant rumbles, bellows. It was like a whole other planet. They were suddenly alone on the thinning trail, the electric engine so quiet that the silence around them was eerie and foreboding. Suddenly, Otis's head snapped forward, eyes sharp.
Hold up!
His foot slammed the brakes, and the Jeep skidded, tires kicking up dirt and stones.
What is it?
Branson asked, voice taut. Otis pointed ahead.
Look there, something's glimmering in the trail. Up ahead!
The Jeep lurched to a halt, the ancient silence pressing in once more. Otis shifted the Jeep into park, the electric engine humming softly. Without a word, he opened the door and stepped out, his boots crunching on the packed trail dust. Sunlight filtered through the high canopy, glinting off the object ahead. It lay partially buried in the dirt, catching the light like a shard of glass. He crouched beside it, brushing away leaves and pebbles until his fingers closed around a smooth, cylindrical device. A faintly metallic sheen caught the light. He held it up, frowning. Branson and Nate were already moving toward him. "What is it?" Branson asked, eyes narrowing as he came to Otis's side. Otis turned it over in his hand.
"I've seen it before."
Branson leaned in for a closer look, and his face tightened with recognition. "So have I." "Well?" Nate asked, glancing between them. "What the hell is it?" Otis exhaled.
"It's a prism power cell."
Branson nodded grimly. "A dead one." Nate raised an eyebrow. "How can you tell?" Branson pointed at the top of the unit. "When they're charged, there's a green light right here. This one's dark, bone dry." Otis slipped the cell into his pocket.
"Okay then, if this got dropped out here, we must be getting close, real close."
They moved forward in silence, the weight of the moment pressing down harder with every step. The trail narrowed further, the air thicker, more oppressive. A few meters ahead, Nate froze. Guys?" They followed his gaze. Embedded in the soft, dark soil were massive footprints, three-toed impressions deeper and broader than anything they had ever seen, each one easily twice the size of a T-Rex's. The tracks were erratic, heavy, like something powerful had been pacing or circling. The rain from the night before still filled some of them slightly. "Those are like bigger than the Rexes we saw, right? It's got to be twice the size," Nate muttered, his voice barely above a whisper.
"Prism said that a bigger Rex was here, the big fucking one. I'm not sure it's around anymore, though. These don't look super fresh, maybe a couple days old,"
Otis said. As they walked on, they all saw it at once, something pale and unnatural beneath the tall, swaying grass. Branson crouched slowly, heart pounding. His hand trembled as he reached into the greenery and pulled it free. It was a human hand. The wrist was a jagged stump, flesh torn ragged. The skin was bloodless, drained, clinging tight to the bone like old leather. He dropped it instantly, recoiling. Otis stepped up beside him, silent, his jaw clenched. He placed a steady hand on Branson's shoulder.
"I'm sorry," he said softly. "I'm sorry, Branson. It looks like you were right."
Branson didn't speak. He just stared down at the severed hand, the weight of confirmation pressing into his chest like the heavy, humid heat of the ancient world around them.
"We need to find that backpack," he said through gritted teeth. "This has to stop." He lifted the hand carefully, in between two fingers. "We will need physical evidence," Branson continued, "and something for his mother to bury." Otis jogged to the Jeep and dug around until he found a couple sealed bandanas sporting the Prism Tech logo. He ripped a package open and jogged back to Branson. He handed it to him, and the billionaire wrapped the hand carefully and stood up. Nate had wandered slightly ahead. He had found a muddy safari hat on the ground, and he began scanning the trail nervously. Then he froze. There, sunk deep in the center of one of the massive footprints, was a shape half buried in the mud. He dropped the hat to the ground. "It's here," Nate blurted, then immediately winced. Sorry, it's here," he repeated in a hushed tone. Branson and Otis rushed over. Nate knelt and tugged gently at the strap of a soaked red leather backpack, caked with mud and leaves. Branson reached out and took it from him, cradling it with a strange reverence. Nate let go and glanced at Otis, who gave him a small nod. Branson knelt and unzipped the pack. Inside were sealed bottles of water, energy bars, packets of aloe wipes, but most importantly the tech was there. 2 fully charged Prism power cells, the return cube, and also a belt-like item Branson and Otis both recognized. "What is the belt thing?" Nate asked curiously, looking down into the open pack. Branson sat the wrapped hand down and pulled the belt out and turned to Nate. "It's a Prism invisibility belt. I've seen the mock-ups for it. Look, there is a small section where you snap in a Prism power cell," Branson said, pointing to the slot. "May I?" Otis asked, reaching for the belt. "Be my guest," Branson responded, handing the belt to him. Otis faced Nate and pointed to 2 small buttons on the front of the belt. "The top button activates invisibility. The bottom activates a high-pitched siren. It is built to keep folks safe around large predators. If for some reason the invisibility doesn't work, for instance, let's say the predator can smell you, well then you have the siren as backup," Otis said, recalling field tests he had witnessed himself. "Large predators? Does it work on dinosaurs?" the younger soldier asked. "Theoretically, but if Edwin had it on hand 2 days ago and they still had to run for their lives, then maybe it doesn't," Otis answered. "Or maybe Edwin isn't telling us the entire story," Branson chimed in. "Or that," Otis agreed. Otis handed the belt back to Branson. The billionaire put it back in the bag. "Oh, wait," Otis said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He withdrew the dead Prism power cell and tossed it into the bag. Branson looked at him. "It might be dead, but hey, it's Prism Tech, right? Figure you might be able to do something with it." "Indeed I can. I was actually going to ask if I could have it," Branson said with a genuine smile. "I definitely wouldn't know what to do with it," Otis said. Branson zipped the bag shut and turned the pack over, exposing the padded section of its backside. He pulled the knife Otis had loaned him from his pocket, flicked the blade open, and began cutting along the side of the padding. He handed the knife back to Otis. Branson's breath caught as he reached into the hidden compartment and wrapped his fingers around a slim, cold rectangle. He pulled it free. It was a thin black tablet. He picked up the wrapped hand and placed it gently into the space the tablet had been. He then took the tablet in both hands like it was the Holy Grail, like it was the greatest discovery of all time. Otis let out a sudden laugh. It was loud, hearty, and honest. "We got the return cube, the power cells, and you got the tablet. Guys, what do you say? Let's go home," Otis said with a laugh. It was a hearty laugh. For the first time in 2 days, there was hope amongst the 3 men. "You don't have to tell me twice," Nate said, grinning. "Yes," Branson nodded, lifting the pack and handing it to Otis. "Yes, of course." He held the tablet against his chest with both hands protectively. "Let's go home." The 3 men returned to the Jeep and climbed in. Otis slipped the backpack between the front seats, then put the vehicle in gear. He looked back at Nate, who gave a nod and a thumbs up. Branson was already powering on the tablet, eyes fixed on the screen as it flickered to life. Otis turned his eyes back to the trail, eased the Jeep forward carefully, maneuvering around the massive footprints, and found enough space to turn the vehicle around. On the road again, he muttered with a grin, shifting gears and steering back towards the bird's nest shelter. They rolled forward, bumping gently over roots and ancient soil. Then Nate leaned forward, his brow creasing. Did you feel that? The Jeep shivered, just slightly. Otis and Branson both did feel it. A split second later, a low bellow echoed from the right side of the trail. From the thick foliage, birds and leathery-winged pterosaurs exploded upward in a panic. Branches snapped, trees swayed. Then the jungle parted. A massive Tyrannosaurus stepped out onto the trail, its hide streaked with mud, its yellow eyes fixed on them. Otis's eyes widened. Back it up, Branson snapped, slapping the dash. Yeah, I think so, Otis replied, shifting the Jeep into reverse. He put his right arm across the back of Branson's seat and turned his head to look to see where he was going. Tires spun slightly in the dirt as they fought for traction, and then they caught and the vehicle backed up, the Rex letting out a rumbling growl. Then another roar came from behind. A second Tyrannosaur, slightly smaller but no less deadly, lumbered out of the jungle directly behind them. Otis slammed on the brakes. The three men glanced back and forth at the two apex predators blocking them from going anywhere. The men were trapped. The two prehistoric beasts began to close in. Okay, Slashaholics, this has been Chapter 10 of my latest book, Primal, a Friday the 13th story. I hope you enjoyed tonight's long chapter. I do have to let you know when the ebook and physical copies come out, it's not going to be 11 chapters. It's going to be more like 22 chapters, a few interludes like with the Jason and Raptor fights and stuff, and 2 epilogues. I started editing it for ebook and physical release, and the chapters are just so long. This book is practically the length of a Black Flame novel, and I'm going to have to split the chapters up into multiple chapters. So if you're the kind of person that gets the physical book or ebook and reads along with the audiobook, you'll have to just expect it to not be lined up exactly with the chapter numbers. But anyways, we got everybody back together in a group. They've cleaned up. They've gotten some food. They've gotten some water. They've got a game plan together. And they're out there. They went for the backpack and they found it. Branson has let Otis and Nate in on what he's looking for, and he found the tablets. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of human drama on the horizon, right? That is if Otis, Nate, and Branson can get back to the bird's nest, because right now the Doe and Buck Rex are blocking them from going either direction, and they are closing in on them. So I hope that was suspenseful and tense there at the end for you, and I hope that you enjoyed Jason and the Dead-Eyed King finally locking up. You have to remember, Jason and these people have only been in the Cretaceous at this point for probably 16 hours, something like that, 17 hours. And Jason has already taken out practically the entire pack of raptors. So, I think that's equal to them destroying Pamela's head as far as Jason is concerned. And I think because he couldn't kill the Dead-Eyed King, and the Dead-Eyed King couldn't quite kill him, I could not see it ending any other way. In my mind, in my heart of hearts, I could not find a way for Jason to kill the Dead-Eyed King. I just did not see it happening. I saw these two predators, these two animalistic
instincts having kind of a stalemate, kind of a draw, kind of an appreciation, you know, like, I tip my hat to you, I tip my hat to you. And they've turned and gone their different ways, you know. The Dead-Eyed King took something very important away from Jason, and Jason has taken the mate of the Dead-Eyed King and almost his entire pack away from him. And, yeah, I hope that it was climactic enough and the payoff was good enough. I hope you enjoyed that battle. And now Jason is on his way to get the people again, and, you know, his mask is broken in half. It is like Wicked, if you picture it. You know, half of Jason's face showing, the other half behind this broken, jagged mask that is like suctioned onto his dead skin. And if you notice, the Dead-Eyed King kind of knew what he was doing when he stepped on the mask and broke it. Maybe he was trying to tell Jason something, you know. Be your primal self. Don't cover it all up, you know. Wear it. Wear your skin. Wear your warrior. Wear your beast, your inner beast, all of that. But anyways, I'm going to be back very soon with Chapter 11 and the epilogues to get you all the conclusion, maybe even tomorrow, of my first mega novel, Primal, a Friday the 13th story. This thing is so much longer than Celestial Slumber. I did not see this happening, but it's been a blast writing it. Over this weekend, I sat down on Saturday for like 17 hours straight. A little crappy fan, no AC in my office, 102 degrees outside the window in front of my desk, and I finished the book, and I'm telling you, I think you're all going to love how it wraps up. And I cannot wait for that. It's a lot of oh shit moments on the way. Until then, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying thanks for listening. Be excellent to each other. Please drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's chapter, what you thought of the book so far, if you're excited about the conclusion. And, you know, if you want to help support the channel, spread the word, subscribe, click the like button, click the bell so you know when new chapters are coming. If you want to go the extra mile, you can do a one-time donation through PayPal, Cash App. Do a super thanks comment below in the comment section, or become a Patreon or channel member. You can hit the merch store, buy one of my books on Amazon, or even order a cameo video. All the information for all of this is in the pinned comment description below. Stay sane inside insanity out there, folks, and I'll see you very soon. I'll see you soon.
It was supposed to save us. We thought we escaped the killers. We're one of them who escaped with us. And now, there's no future left.
We fell through time to ancient ground, where giants walked where streets don't sound. The sky is red, the leaves strip black, and something's always watching back. Claws not teeth, the jaws to scale, but something called to run our trail. A mask of a breath, no words, no cry, just Jason walking, and you died. Primal. No God, no rules, just cast the dirt. Primal. The jungle breathes and makes it hurt. No scream can reach the stars we knew. He's behind you now and coming through. Primal. Steel in silence, liquid rush. Primal. He's not alive, but he still hunts. The Rex can roar, the raptors scream, but Jason tears through every dream. He doesn't run, he doesn't bleed. You hear the crunch, you watch him feed. Behind in trees and caves at night, but still he walks, no need for sight. He waits while thunder splits the sky and strikes when stars are blinking dry.
He doesn't belong in this time. But this time belongs to him now. Not even the dinosaurs challenge him, because even they know what death is.
I stare in ancient ray. He doesn't stop me, doesn't change. Lost behind, mask ahead. Between the beast and him, you're dead. A scream is lost, the jungle cries. A friend impaled before your eyes. The BF Rex flees in the dark. Jason stayed to leave his mark. Primal. The blood drips on a cretaceous stone. Primal. The past is screaming, but you're alone. A monster from the age of men, a stalking beast.
escaped the killers. We're one of who escaped with us. And now, there's no future left.
We fell through time to ancient ground, where giants walked where streets don't sound. The sky is red, the leaves strip black, and something's always watching back. Claws not teeth